Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of the S.H.Figuarts from Star Wars Rogue One. I decided instead of doing these individually, since they came out kind of closest together, and there's going to be some very similar points hit in them, to just kind of review them as a set, even though, you know, they didn't come as a set and there could be more stuff later. But these are the ones we have right now. We have the Tank Trooper and the Shoretrooper and the Death Trooper, Stormtrooper again, and then K2SO. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll take a quick individual look at them. I'm only going to be showing off the articulation in the main Stormtrooper and K2SO because everyone else's is similar enough, because of, you know, similar to same molds. Not to mention all Figuarts sort of share generally the same articulation, so it'd be a bit of a waste of time. So I'll just be using those two as the base, but we'll take a quick individual look at all of them. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started then. So we'll start off with our good buddy, the classic Stormtrooper. So this is another release. We had a regular one a while back, and honestly, I don't have that one. It was back in the very early days of Star Wars figures, and I was sort of deciding, you know, if I was going to like them, trying to save a bit of money. I basically planned on picking them up later, and then they actually kind of got ridiculous to find for a reasonable price. So I was happy that they decided to release another one, so I'm not sure how much differences there are. If there are any, they're pretty minimal. Like, I'm happy with this. I don't feel that need of completion to go out and get myself an original release Stormtrooper. So yeah, there's that. Accessories-wise, he just comes with the different sets of hands. You got the standard closed fists. You got a couple different, like, pointy hands here. But we have the ones, obviously, to hold the gun. This is one of the pointy ones on there, which I'll get to. And then you got, like, it's just really hard to show up. The camera does not want to focus on them. But you get hands like this. There you go. That, like, are ready for pointing. And then you have just sort of cupped hands to hold the end of the gun. You'll see that when I get to the figure. And obviously, you have a standard blaster on him there. You have this longer one with this, well, kind of reminds me of a bow there, thing here. And then you have this sort of, this one. Just seeing these reminds me of playing Battlefront recently, just because I can't get it out of there. Because in Battlefront, you know, remember the part where you couldn't get the guns out of the plastic container? That's my favorite part. But like this type of gun here, which is like a barrel gun. But so you have a couple different guns. There's nothing really much to them because, you know, the Star Wars weapons aren't like a crazy Rider or Sentai weapon that's got a bunch of details and shine to them. They're basically just one solid color, kind of like most Power Rangers toys are. But so you can see there's the pointy hand and then this sort of just regular hand. And so articulation-wise, this is the same base articulation all the troopers are going to have. You get a solid ball joint here. You can get all around range of motion. You get a nice double elbow joint here, swiveling here at the wrist, swiveling up here, a nice ball joint at the leg, swiveling double knee joint there. Get a nice little ankle joint here, so you can get some little side-to-side movements for if you do outlanders poses. You can side of. What even word is side of? Sort of pose the ankle so he can stand up. A little bendy joint there. Chest and waist, obvious ball joint on the head. So if you're not familiar with Figuarts, they're all very well articulated, and even across different molds, they usually hit the same points of articulation. But the trooper molds are pretty much the same, and there's not even really that many differences in what hinders them, because honestly, the only thing that hinders them are these little flaps here, and that exists on most of them. So yeah. And in terms of like look-wise, I think this is pretty solid. I think all the troopers look good, spoiler alert. I think they got the look down pretty well. It's got a bit of a nice shine to it. I don't really have too many proportional issues. I think the armor looks good. They got all kinds of nice little details in there. So yeah, it's pretty good looking, and it feels solid. It's not like the most amazing quality feeling ever. Like, in my Figuarts reviews, I always talk about sometimes there was figures that I would get, like a Figuart specifically, I mean, where you get it and you're like, wow, this is a really nice figure. It's got kind of a heft to it, just sort of a quality feel where you're like, this was worth the $30-ish, $40 I spent on it. And none of the Star Wars figures have really felt like that, but this does feel like a solid figure. It looks good. It doesn't feel loose. So nothing like out of my seat jumping, but solid. Now we have K2SO here, one of the ones I was actually most excited about because he was my favorite from the movie. Quickly to get out of the way, accessories he comes with, obviously different fists. You got the standard closed fist Figuart fists on him, and then in here you have just some sort of splayed open hands and some sort of like holdy things hands. And underneath there, if you could see, I'll show on the back, it shows it a little bit better, but there's a little clear stand that you can put him on. I'm not bothering putting it together because personally I'm not a fan of those stands, so I usually just toss them aside anyway, so I'm kind of keeping it just in the corner. So, but it does include that for him, which is kind of nice. Articulation-wise, he obviously has a different mold than the troopers, but it's basically the same stuff. A nice joint here. You do have like this secondary, like rotating disc joint here, which kind of makes it a little bit different for him. But you have the joint here. It's double, but it kind of stops at the movement there a little bit. You have the swiveling there, Got nice little joints here on the legs. Again, they're a bit weirder, obviously, because of his structure. Double joint there. You can move his little ankle a little bit. Be very careful. You can't move it side to side, only up and down. You can swivel it. And then you got the little toe joint action there. You got a little bit of waist and chest articulation. And then the nice all-around ball joint on his leg. This is his neck. That's not even close. Okay. But so here's the thing. Okay. I'll just keep saying, okay, detail-wise, this guy does look good. Proportionate-wise, nothing seems too big or small or anything. You know how it is. But, you know, he looks good. I think they got the colors on him right. He's kind of got it's like a matte finish, but it makes him look metal. Like, you can even see there the lights coming off of that. I think that looks good. All the little, the finer details on him, I think are good-looking. Detail-wise, there's really not a problem. I think they did a good job on it. You got all the kind of little intricate metal parts. It looks good. But it's honestly the flimsiest figure art, possibly one of the most flimsy figures I've owned in a long time. I mean, obviously, because of his design, his legs are skinnier, but they're so flimsy. Overall, it just feels so cheap. I don't know, you can't even tell by me doing this, because only I can feel how light it is. But it feels so light and hollow, and because his legs are so thin, it makes them feel like they're gonna break like toothpicks. And when I first got him, I had him on the table and I accidentally knocked him over and I thought he was gonna shatter and the legs were gonna break, and it just feels so cheap. It's not bad looking, but it's just so cheap, and it bothers me so much because of how much these figures are. You expect something more, and the fact that you can probably get something sturdier from a Black Series or like the Disney Store diecast or whatever is disappointing. Like, I'm not sure exactly what they would do because he is, a flimsier or a skinnier frame. I think maybe having die-cast legs or ankles would have worked, and then just try to make this up here a little bit thicker to balance him so he could stand. Because back in the day, Figuarts would have various die-cast metal pieces, and I think they could have definitely made this guy feel more worth your money. So definitely the biggest disappointment of all of them so far. Alright, so now we have the Combat Assault Tank Trooper, one of the actual new designs from the movie, which is pretty cool. We see all the new designs pretty briefly, but they're still neat nonetheless. He's one of the more underwhelming ones accessories-wise. He basically just comes with the blaster he has on him, and then 3 sets of hands, the standard closed fists, and then the one of each I have on him, which is the pointing, sort of ready to, hold a blaster hand, and then the just sort of cupping, randomly hold something hand. And all the articulation for him is basically the same as the Stormtrooper standard one I went over. The only hindrance, again, really being these little flaps down here. But overall, I really like the design on all these new troopers, and I think that the Figuarts detail on these looks really good, for sure. I think they have all the nice little details on there. You can even see on the pants there's like little cloth details that make it look like it's actually cloth, like they do. But this guy's got kind of like a lot of black lines running through it to, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, black lines running through it, which just kind of accentuate the design. And I think they did a really good job on it detail-wise, and I think it's very good looking. Similar to the Stormtrooper, he's a solid figure. He doesn't feel like he's going to have loose joints or anything. Very happy with the way it feels like that. Good articulation and stuff like that, just like usual, but it doesn't feel that same, amazing, worth your money quality, but still a solid figure. All right, next up we have the Shoretrooper, whose core design is very similar to the Tank Trooper. He's just obviously more of a basic brown color. Very different for Stormtroopers, kind of like combat camouflage-like look. Accessories-wise, you get the bit of longer blaster he has on him, and then you have just the same hands we've been getting. Closed fists, holding the gun for pointing and holding the end of the gun. And then you also just get one standard blaster there, just like the regular Stormtrooper has, or at least pretty close to it. I think it's the same one, yeah. But so, nothing too spectacular about it. But look-wise, I actually quite like this guy's design too. I think it's nice to have a bit of a different color on him. Just kind of makes him stand out a little bit. He's got like these sort of extra, like holster compartments. I don't even know. He's like, I don't know where to put that. I was like, where does this, like the bat belt, and I don't know. And then, if you got like water canteens, he gets real thirsty. No, I'm just kidding. But they have nice details on there. Like you can see just the nice details in here, all through here. He's kind of got this nice armored look and a bit, I don't want to say worn, because it's not like battle damage, but it does kind of give, I don't know, just, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about. Brilliant. But yeah, I like the design of him, just like the other one. Feels solid, no loose joint problems on this guy. Overall, nice and solid figure, just not that amazing, you know, feel of it where I'm like, this was worth $30-something, X amount. Alright, so now we will get on to the last but certainly not least, we have the Death Trooper, which is pretty much the fan favorite from what I've seen, and I can definitely see why. He might be my favorite too. I like the other designs of the Shore and the Tank Trooper as well. I think they're a bit more different. This is just kind of like a little bit more of an angry Stormtrooper, but still, it's a really cool design. I really like the angular design on his helmet. It really just kind of adds something to it. The green eyes, or I imagine they're green. Like, that's what's looking for me. Just look really cool coming off of it. He's pretty basic though. Like, he's all black, obviously. And you got like little armor details in there around, but he's a little bit more basic in terms of little specific details than the other two have, but it really works for him, and I think it looks pretty cool. And the armor looks really good. I think the camera's picking it up. It's got kind of a nice shine to it. It seems a little bit more in person, but yeah, you can really see it there the way the light's hitting off of it. It's got this real shiny look like it does, which I think makes it look pretty cool. I really like him quite a bit. Same thing as I've said with the other figures, solid mold, good articulation, no loose problems or anything like that. The only hindrances are stuff like this, where this bits fall off. That's like the only thing specific to him, because he does have bits hanging off his belt. You know how it is. No, but like they're not permanently on there where they'll stop you a little bit from moving. It's more like that'll just straight up pop off, but that's really the only difference. But yeah, good looking figure. I'm happy with it. And then accessories-wise, not too different from the others. He has the same 3 standard sets of hands, the 2 different holding the blaster hands, and then, you know, the standard closed Figuarts fists. And then he's got, like, one sort of standard little scope pistol here, and this little extra attachment here. So nothing too, you know, spectacular to make him stand out, but decent little bit to do. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the final verdict. So overall, there's some good and some bad here. Like, I really like the troopers. In general, I do like collecting figures for any kind of troopers throughout any lines throughout my life, so I've been enjoying the figure art ones for the most part. As I've said in past reviews, and these are no different, a lot of them are still nice figures that I like, but they don't necessarily always have that really great quality feel where I feel that, you know, the money I spent on these was really worth this purchase. But they're certainly not bad by any means. I think all the troopers are good looking, well articulated, have some decent accessories, and I'm for the most part happy with my purchase of them. K2SO, on the other hand, is probably the biggest I've been disappointed in a figure art in a while, especially since he was my favorite character in that movie, so I was pretty excited to get a figure of him when he arrived, and it's without question the flimsiest figure art I've ever owned. Like I said before, I would definitely suggest you take a look possibly at the Black series, or like the Disney Store diecast series, which is essentially the Black series with diecast. I think they did one of him, or a possible other alternative than this, especially for the money you're spending on it. Like, so definitely skip K2SO, but I think the troopers are solid, in the same rough quality as the other Stormtroopers and Clone Troopers have been. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure to the Crazy Podcast at WritersRangeRambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.